Hi, I'm Barbara Lucas, and welcome to the Green Room, where we explore the environmental topics that green up our world. Today we'll be discussing ways to reduce waste in restaurants. Our guest is Rodger Bowser, chef and managing partner at Zingerman's Delicatessen in Ann Arbor. Welcome to the show, Rodger.
Thanks for having me.
So we know that Zingerman's is not just a deli, it's a whole family of businesses. So tell us really briefly, when did it get started and where are you at now?
The entire organization. So we've been around for 33 plus years. We started as the Delicatessen in Carytown, and slowly we expanded to 9, 10, 11 different businesses throughout the community. Very community-based. We want to stick around Ann Arbor. We're not looking to go, open delis in Atlanta or anything like that. And we're focused on this community for sure. Unique businesses in the area: the Bakehouse, the Creamery, the Roadhouse. They're all different businesses, but with a food focus. So it's quite nice.
Great.
And now we've totaled up to about 18 different managing partners that manage each of the businesses, and we all function as one. So
and 600 employees, something like that?
We're at 600 plus employees right now.
Wow, that's amazing.
There's 200 at the deli, and it swells a little bit during the holidays, but yeah, okay. 600 plus employees.
And you're the chair of the Planet Zingerman's committee?
Correct. We have a company-wide committee that works on sustainability initiatives, and we have representatives from each business, meet once a month and work on, plans to roll out company-wide strategies and stuff like that. So I chair that committee.
Great.
Yeah.
And we know that some customers seek out places, businesses that have sustainable products and practices. So that's one reason to do it. And another would be just because the owners are, into sustainability.
Yeah.
But how about the bottom line? Is it a drain or a gain for the financials of the businesses?
Right. So you're mentioning a good couple of reasons. It's the right thing to do. We've heard that. And guests look for it. The customers look for restaurants that do that sort of thing. And one of my big eye openers for a lot of people is that it's great for the bottom line, and not just the service bottom line or the great food bottom line, but it's great for the finance portion of it. When you look for ways to eliminating waste, it helps because you're actually spending less money sometimes to actually get the same result.
That's good to hear.
And it's good. So we do end up saving a lot of money on typical ways. So it helps us go back and maybe do some capital expenditures to do some more long-term planning and stuff like that. So it kind of balances out.
Great.
Yeah.
Win-win.
Yeah, sometimes it's a win-win.
Good.
Sometimes it's a triple win.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some examples. Now we know that using reusables instead of disposables is a really great way to be sustainable. So can you give me a couple examples of that?
Yeah, the reusables versus disposables can be a way to go, and then we can talk about maybe we have water usage and stuff like that because we have to wash the glass or the bowl or something like that. But in the long term, it's definitely a win situation. We gave everybody who came into Zingerman's Delicatessen a plastic 16-ounce cup, if you wanted a soda or a water or anything like that. So every guest that came in, you want something to drink, here's a to-go cup, and it was our largest single expenditure in terms of disposables every month.
Wow. Every
month, and we would just go through scads, 12, 13 cases of these things a month. And so when we did the expansion, we wanted to focus on more reusable, washable, in-house dishware, and that was one of the first things that we targeted. But we also didn't want it to be just this janky cup that scratches and gets ugly and stained and all that kind of stuff. We kind of wanted something classy, something that could last, that we wanted to spend our money on. And we researched pretty hard on a cup, on a glass, and we went with it. And it was a pretty hard pill to swallow. It was a $5 glass cost,
And you had to put in a dishwasher too.
And we had to put in a dishwasher, which we kind of were going to do anyway. So it was one of those while you're down there things. We used to wash all of our dishes in a 3-compartment sink before the deli expansion. So we switched to these plastic cups. We made a $5,000 investment on getting enough to do our volume. It's a big place, so we needed 600-800 of these glasses, and we made the investment. And initially, in the first 2 or 3 months, we're seeing savings of this plastic cup that we used to be handing out just chopped in half.
Wow, that's great.
We were consistently saving, $600-700 a month, and our return on investments 6 months down the road. It's great.
I don't understand why more places don't do it then, if it saves money.
Well, I don't either, but
Yeah.
we had a situation where we couldn't do it before.
Because you didn't have the
We
dishwasher.
didn't have the dishwasher.
But I'm
so.
finding I'm seeking out places that have reusable glasses, and if I can't get it, then I just don't go there anymore. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
if that's a trend that other people, you're noticing other customers, or?
Well, I don't get out much, but I'm sure it's possible. It's one of those things where it's hard to get past the initial investment. So we've had to spend $5,000, and that's like it's $5,000.
I guess that's something. And you also said that delivery totes, you bought some for your vendors.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've liked to push with a lot of the growers that I do business with at Farmers Market, and it's been a long process, but some of them are hip to the new way of doing things, I guess. So when we get large volumes of produce in, the growers have this investment of a box, and I would like to see them just do it in a reusable tote, a washable, reusable tote that we can just give back to them, similar to like a milk crate or something like that has been around for how long have we had milk crates, and make it individualistic, make it good for the produce, and they can have this initial investment, which can be scary, but they get to not have the investment in the box again. I also get to get a bit of a food safety thing out of it as well. Not having a reusable box come to my back dock is good. So getting a box that says, Zingerman's Deli on it, 20 pounds of lettuce is a good thing. But getting a box that was reused by some other place, that got given back to the grower it's not technically legal. So if we have a reusable, washable, which is food safe, it's good, and they don't have the box expense.
And you're also giving incentives if people bring in their own mugs, another reusable.
Correct. So we do sell two different kinds of mugs at the delicatessen. We sell a ceramic mug and then a nice to-go mug for coffee, and that's got laser imprinted in on it, the Zingerman's logo. So if you bring that back, you get discounts on your coffee and stuff like that.
But you can bring in your own, right? It doesn't have to be Zingerman's? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
On the coffee mug thing right now, we're just switching our paper to-go cups this month to a compostable product. And it was one of the last outliers for us in our disposables. Outliers being, we wanted all of our disposables that we send with to-go products to be recyclable or compostable, and that was our last one.
Great.
So all of them are either recyclable or compostable at this point, so or will be within the next month or so.
And so the default needs to be that the customer, when they come in, gets the option of having, because you do serve things in these kind of mugs too.
Yeah.
And one thing you were telling me before the show was kind of interesting. You were saying that good communication is crucial so that all your staff knows what the default is.
Yeah, so good communication is pretty crucial in a lot of these initiatives, and a lot of trying to get 600 people to understand what compost is, or what compost is in your station or your production area.
It's got to be a challenge.
It is, and we're pretty fortunate in that we function on an open book management system, and we function on a system that really breathes the staff and takes ideas from the staff and listens to the staff and what.
And you have weekly huddles.
And we have weekly meetings that are open to all the staff to talk about topics like this.
Must be fun to work there if you have a chance to have a little voice.
It's nice to have the employee's voice heard. So that helps.
Another thing, actually you didn't tell me this, but I was reading about it, that one of your staff members thought of not automatically giving straws to customers unless they ask for them.
Right.
So that's an example of reduction.
Yep.
And a good default, another good default.
Another good default, and we've actually had success in thinking of it that way. Where we don't necessarily just assume the guest is going to want this or just give it to them as a default, and we ask them, and we've had great success with that as well. We've had reductions in usage and waste and that sort of stuff, so which is a reduction in purchase in the long run. So we do that with, do you need forks and spoons with that on their to-go order, or have you had the newsletter yet? Can we put that in the bag for you instead of just automatically shoving all this stuff in the bag? So we've had good success with that.
And you mentioned instead of shoving 8 napkins, for default, just put in less, a
3 or 4
reasonable amount.
Right, which could be a controversial topic, but we definitely default to a certain amount now. So
that's great.
instead of a wad.
Yeah. You were mentioning using less packaging, like your olive oil.
Well, we use a lot less packaging on a lot of things, so it's a pretty, again, controversial topic, you know, to get the right packaging that's good for the food and easy for the guests and stuff like that. So we can do that on the back end on some of the products that we get in our door, and we can work with vendors on working with the packaging, or we can think about it in terms of packaging that we're going to send out to the guest with like a coffee cake or something like that. And one of the ones that we worked on a couple years ago was the olive oil. So we go through quite a bit of olive oil at the delicatessen in terms of our production. All of our olive oil that we use at the deli is extra virgin olive oil from California Olive Ranch, and we partnered with them to do an annual harvest and an annual buy. And we started buying all of our olive oil in 55-gallon barrels.
That's huge.
It is, especially now that I'm buying 12 barrels.
And a lot less packaging.
And a lot less packaging. So now I'm buying 12 barrels, and I just, you know, put them in 5-gallon buckets with spigots, and we use it all there, versus where we used to buy 10 to 12 boxes with a bag in it with a spigot in it per week.
Yeah,
and
that's
all
great.
that packaging and all that labor and mess is gone out of the system, and now we just use reusables for everything.
Great.
I do have some barrels all the time for people to take too.
Oh,
so
really?
Well,
That's
employees get a rain barrel or something like
cool.
that out of the deal. So
That's great.
That works.
Huh. Let's see, there's concentrated cleaners. That would mean less packaging if
Correct.
you have a smaller.
A lot of the soap companies nowadays do a lot of that concentrated cleaners in terms of for your dish machines and all that kind of stuff. We worked almost 10, 12 years ago on getting our cleaning chemicals to the point where we felt safe about them. They were biodegradable and not something I could just dump in here on river and feel comfortable about it, but you know, something better than what we were using before. And we switched over to a company that does custom mixes for us. They're all biodegradable. They are extremely effective.
Probably better for your employees too.
Better, less caustic for the employees. Different people get different reactions from things, but yeah, it's a way better product, and we're kind of happy with it.
Good. And how about food waste? Can you give me an example of how you're working on that?
Yeah, we have a pretty good attention to food waste on a daily, constant basis. I mean, it's the restaurant world and small margins and that sort of thing. So about 10 years ago, this is an old one for us, but you know, I was noticing that my employees were taking 20, 25 minutes to peel the latkes for the potatoes for the latkes, and those are the Jewish latke, the potato pancake. And I was like, why are we peeling these things? I mean, why? I mean, we might have a good reason.
I don't peel my potatoes.
Yeah, exactly. And I wouldn't if I was going to make it at home either. So I was like, well, let's just try grating them with the skins on it, and let's see what happens in terms of the flavor and the taste and all that kind of stuff. It turned out to be a better tasting latke. This change happened a long time ago.
More nutritious?
More nutritious. We know that the skin holds all the vitamins and minerals and that sort of thing. And it turned out to be one of those really nice win-wins in terms of waste. I get more yield out of my potatoes, and I don't waste the employees' time. And that's another form of waste that isn't talked about much in the sustainability efforts, but we focus on it quite a bit, and that's time for the employee. And it's one of those things that we like to focus on. If the employee doesn't have to pick something up 6 or 7 times, but only really needs to pick it up 4 times, we eliminated that wasted time, and that's something we actually measured, as well as everything else in terms of waste. It's a pretty important one. But again, it's a win-win-win in a lot of ways, because we get to save money on labor, or that employee gets to focus on something else that they'd like to do and more productive, and we save money on the food. So,
speaking of that, I know you do employee education in terms of things like how they can reduce energy use even at home, like if they're a renter.
So that's one way we try to educate the employee is we run a game with it. We'll try a zero waste challenge at home.
Oh, great.
We'll give them lots of education and points for a game to see if they can practice these things at home, because we know if they practice them at home, they're going to end up practicing them at work at the same time.
It's a whole ethic.
It's a whole ethic
24-hour ethic.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So.
And then there's some gray areas. We were talking before about how some things it's really hard to decide what to do. What's the greenest way to go?
It really is. And there's never a silver bullet for almost any of it.
Yeah.
I wish there was. And I wish there was a low-hanging fruit in all of these, but it's not. So Some of the gray areas that we're dealing with right now is, recyclable versus compostable. Is it good packaging for the food? Is it good packaging for the guests? And can we get it to be compostable? And some of those times they don't go together. We need a nice tight seal on our hot, matzo ball soup. And sometimes a compostable product just doesn't do that for us. So we let the service of the food and the guest outwin on that one, and we go with a recyclable product. Yep, it's plastic. So it's hard to get away from that. And then there's some things like, cotton towels versus the microfiber towels. We talked about that. And I had a real hard time with that in the beginning. Our linen company said, hey, here, try these nice microfiber towels. And I'm like, just no. I mean, they touch weird. They're plastic. Why would I want, a plastic product? It's a dead dinosaur. Why would I want to use that? Organic cotton is organic, not actually big O organic, but you can compost that towel if you wanted to. And that's not really necessarily a clean cut decision either. If we talk about cotton being one of the largest sources of agricultural water in the world, and cotton is not really this beautiful crop that it could be. And
it uses more insecticides.
It uses more insecticides.
It's not grown organically than any other agricultural product, I guess.
And if you're a GMO fan or not a GMO fan, that gets thrown into the mix in terms of the discussion and stuff like that. And then you've got to start thinking about, well, this plastic towel, this microfiber towel, it uses less water to produce it. It uses less water to wash it. It actually performs better, so you're actually going to use less towels to do the same job. And you start thinking about it going, what's better, I mean, in the 80s it was paper versus plastic in the stores, and that still hasn't gone away, quite honestly. So,
speaking of which, you were talking about maybe going with a reusable cloth bag for Zingerman's?
Yeah, so we do have a nice, maybe not everybody thinks about it that way, a reusable bag. Our yellow bag, our large shopping bag, is quite reusable. I mean, I think a lot of folks that might watch
Hopefully
this program
they reuse them.
See them all over the place being reused. I reuse them at home. They're quite easy. I saw my neighbor move her daughter to college and like 8 of them. So they're reusable, but they're recyclable at the same time, and we're also thinking about making a canvas version. It's kind of hard to get the same print, but we definitely want to have that same iconic Zingerman's yellow bag, but in a canvas version. And we're going to partner with some nice printers in the area to get that to happen.
Oh, those will be nice.
Yeah, we're working on the artwork right now, so it'd be nice to see that bag all over the place as well.
How about some other future initiatives you might be tackling?
Some of the bigger ones are tough right now. I'd like to tackle a few of the actual, we're talking about zero waste, and we're not just talking about the waste stream out the compostables and recyclables and the landfill, but we'd like to talk about some energy usage at the same time. So reducing our energy usage, reducing our water usage, those are some of the big topics that sure we can rally the employees around. We can get them to shut off the lights and think about turning ovens off when we don't need them, and really optimizing that kind of stuff. But there's going to be some bigger decisions, like, do we want to invest in some kind of solar? Do we really want to invest in any kind of geothermal somewhere or something like that? And those are some of the bigger decisions that we've got to make, especially if we want to get to our goal.
Some of the hard ones you mentioned before were like trying to reduce water bottle usage.
Yeah, water bottle usage.
That's a toughie.
That's a big toughie. And water bottles, I think they're still the same problem they've always been. Same as aluminum cans. We as consumers consume a lot of plastic bottles. It's amazing. So yeah, that's going to be a tough one. That one's hard. That one goes back to the guest as well. How do we give a guest who wants water to go not in plastic, or a glass bottle or something like that? Or how do we not import bottled water? Is that a decision we want to make and sell bottled water?
And how about composting and recycling for customers? I know you're doing composting and recycling in the kitchen, pre-consumer, but
correct.
How about for customers?
Well, we need to make it easy for them. And that's another thing that isn't easy for the restaurant. They need to make a decision. Well, do we want to sort it, or do you want to have the guests sort it? Do we want to inconvenience the guests and have 6 different bins? Here's your recycling bin, and your composting bin, and your dish bin, and then your trash bin. And obviously, I want to make the trash bin as small and as hard to get to as possible, so the others are defaulted. So do I make the guests sort all that, or should I just have them just throw it all in, and then I do it as a busser or something like that? And those are the decisions you got to make as the restaurant, and we struggle with that for a while. I think we do it pretty mediocrely at the deli right now. We have options for it, but we don't communicate it very well. And getting into the guest area is the next push for us, and we should have it by the first of the year and have that solved, dialed in.
Great.
You did mention compost, though, and we're struggling with that one right now. We've got a very big organizational change. We got them on board with it. The staff are doing it, and we just don't have a place to take it right now. And we'd like to find a place to take our compost.
And even with the recycling, you need to make sure the city's able to pick up tons and tons more if all your customers start recycling too. This is the next initiative, like you said, the guest part of it, and we're doing audits right now on the trash that we get from the guest areas and finding what percentage is recyclable, what percentage is compostable, and what percentage is, the fork that I didn't want them to throw away. Yeah.
So doing trash audits isn't glamorous, but it's something that you probably should do. And I really think most keen restaurateurs should be doing it anyway, just to find out what's going in the trash.
Yeah, it's probably illuminating.
Yeah. I learned it a long time ago from some amazing chefs. So they're like, you want to know where your money's going? Look in your trash. So.
Well, you guys are doing a great job, and hopefully that other restaurants will be doing similarly in the future. It seems to be the wave of the future, we hope.
Yeah. We hope.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here today. It's been really interesting, Rodger.
No, I wish we could do it for a lot longer, but thanks. Yeah. I appreciate it.
For an online archive of today's show, go to ewashington.org/greenroom. Thanks for joining us here in the Green Room.